Ice, he cruising down the highway, windows down, music blaring. Suddenly, the familiar beat of the Notorious B.I.G's Juicy fills the airwaves. But wait, something's off. As you bob your head to the rhythm, you notice a strange silence where there used to be a line about blowing up like the World Trade. Now what gives, man? Could it be that Biggie predicted 9/11? The World Trade Center bombing in '93. Now taking it way back to 1993, the bustling streets of New York City, the iconic Twin Towers piercing the sky, and a sense of security that would soon be shattered. Now that year, a shocking event rocked the nation and left a mark on the American psyche, the World Trade Center bombing. Now what exactly went down? Well, on a chilly February morning, a bomb went off in the underground parking garage beneath the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Now it was a rented van loaded with explosives, and the blast was devastating. Lives was lost, including that of a pregnant woman, and there was chaos everywhere. Now this wasn't just an attack on a building, it was an attack on the very heart of America's financial hub. Now can y'all imagine the shockwaves rippling through the country? It was bad, man. People were scared, confused, and angry as hell. Now the sense of safety and invincibility that a lot of Americans once held was shattered in an instant. Now it was a wake-up call that terrorism could hit home, right in the heart of the Big Apple. Now in the middle of the aftermath of this tragedy, something was brewing in the streets of Brooklyn. Enter Christopher Wallace, better known as the Notorious B.I.G. or Biggie Smalls. Now he was a rising star in the hip-hop scene, crafting rhymes that painted vivid pictures of life in the gritty neighborhoods of New York City. Now think about it, man. While the city was still reeling from the shock of the bombing, Biggie was making moves in the Brooklyn hip-hop scene. Now he was a product of his environment, soaking up the sounds and stories of the streets around him. And let me tell you, his rise to fame was nothing short of meteoric. Now hip-hop was in its golden age, with artists like Tupac, Nas, and Jay-Z dominating the airwaves. And Biggie was right in the thick of it, carving out his own lane with his own unique flow and lyrical prowess. But it wasn't all glitz and glamour. Nah, man, Brooklyn was a rough place back then, with crime rates soaring and tensions running high. And yet, amidst all this chaos, there was a sense of resilience and creativity pulsing through the boroughs, man. Now, Biggie, he was a product of this environment, a diamond in the rough, if you will. But what exactly were the lyrics? Analyzing the blow up like the World Trade line. So, when Biggie dropped that line, he wasn't talking about terrorism or destruction. Now, far from it. He was using a metaphor to describe his rise to fame and success in the music industry. You see, blowing up like the World Trade Center wasn't about destruction. It was about reaching the pinnacle of his career and becoming a household name. Now Biggie, a kid from Brooklyn with big dreams and even bigger rhymes, envisioning himself soaring to the top of the chart like those iconic towers reaching for the top of the sky. Man, it's a powerful image, capturing the essence of his ambition and of his unquenchable drive. Now let's bring in the experts. Now rap scholars and contributors who studied Biggie's music and dissected his lyrics. Now they'll tell you that Biggie was a master wordsmith, using clever wordplay and vivid imagery to paint pictures with his rhymes. Now these scholars will tell you that blow up like the World Trade was a metaphorical statement, not a literal one. See, it was Biggie's ways of expressing his desire for success and recognition in the music industry, drawing inspiration from the world and the neighborhood and the city around him. Now, some people have suggested that Biggie's lyric was a prediction of the tragic events of 9/11. But let me tell you, man, that ain't nothing but a fat load of nonsense. Ain't no evidence to support the idea that Biggie had any kind of foreknowledge of the attacks, man. The brother was an artist, not a prophet. And while his lyrics may have resonated with listeners in unexpected ways, y'all, it's important. We gotta separate fact from fiction. But before that, man, the freaking censorship board stepped in and started shutting it down. Radio censorship and cultural sensitivities. Now the dust hadn't even settled, man, and everyone was reeling from the shock of the attacks in the midst of all the chaos. And radio stations were scrambling to figure out what to do about their playlists. Now that's where censorship came into play. See, radio stations didn't want to play anything that might trigger traumatic memories or offend listeners in the wake of such a devastating event. So, songs like Juicy, with its reference to the World Trade Center, came under a lot of scrutiny. Now, DJs and industry insiders was faced with a tough decision. Do they keep playing the song as is? Or do they censor it to be on the safer side? Now, it wasn't an easy call to make, but ultimately, many stations decided to err on the side of caution and censor potentially triggering content. And that's how Juicy ended up with a little snippet of silence where that line used to be. But man, it didn't just end there, neither. The persistence of censorship. Now, you'd think that with time, people would loosen up a bit, right? Well, nah, man, not necessarily. Now, despite the passage of time, radio stations are still playing the edited version of the song, complete with that little weird bit of silence where that controversial line used to be. But hey man, not everybody's on board with that decision, right? Because there are voices out there advocating for the restoration of the original lyric, arguing that it's a matter of free speech and artistic integrity. I mean, come on. Music is a form of expression, right? An artist ought to be able to say what they want without fear of censorship, right? You don't see us out there trying to censor Dixie Chick for all their anti-American sentiments, and don't even get me started on T-Swift, y'all. Or Toby Keith and Willie Nelson and their whole country song about getting pissed off about America getting bombed. Man, that's cool, but we gotta censor Biggie? Come on, America. Y'all gotta wipe them snowflakes off your shoulders. Alright, but look. A lot of people say that there's a flip side, right? And there's people that argue that the trauma on 9/11 is still fresh in people's minds. And playing a song with a reference to the World Trade Center might reopen old wounds. Now, this is a pretty tricky situation with a lot of passionate arguments on both sides. But at the end of the day, it's up to the listeners to decide what they want to hear, censored or uncensored. And this listener says, bring it back in all of its beautiful glory. People tired of listening to censored crap on the radio. Last time I checked, it's 2024 and we all ain't in preschool, man. You got a whole generation of people alive that ain't even know about the World Trade Center attacks, man. Remembering history and confronting tragedy. Now, psychologists have shown that music, movies, and other forms of pop culture can have a big impact on how we remember certain events. See, they're like time capsules, preserving moments in time for future generations to reflect on. Now, imagine if Juicy was restored to its original version. That could spark conversations and reflections on the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center. You know, a tragedy that sometimes is overshadowed by the events of 9/11. By acknowledging and remembering this earlier attack, we're confronting the reality of terrorism and its lasting effects on our country. But it ain't just about history. It's about the cultural legacy of Juicy. This song is more than just a catchy tune, it's a snapshot of a moment in time, capturing the spirit of 90s hip-hop and the resilience in New York City. Restoring the original lyric will breathe new life into the song, allowing it to reclaim its place in the cultural landscape and remind us of the resilience of the human spirit in that face of tragedy. So while the debate over censorship and restoration rages on, let's not forget the bigger picture here. Juicy ain't just a song, it's a reminder of where we've been and how far we come. And maybe, just maybe, restoring the original lyric could help us all move forward together. Or maybe I'm just full of it and everybody's happy being special little snowflakes and keeping their feelings intact. Anyway, y'all sound off and let me know what y'all think about this issue, man, and where you stand on the conversation. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the world of music and beyond. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'll catch you next time.